So as we move from the practice of boundless loving kindness to the practice of boundless compassion, some of you may notice that boundless compassion is a little more challenging. So there's a reason that boundless loving kindness comes before boundless compassion. And that's because in order to practice boundless compassion, we need to be willing to feel a little bit uncomfortable. Now, it's not that uncomfort will always arise when we practice boundless compassion, but it may. Because as we work with boundless compassion, we're working with a practice that aspires for ourselves and others to be free from suffering and its causes. And in order to work with that aspiration, we need to reflect on the various kinds of pain points, sufferings, moments of dissatisfaction and stress that both ourselves and others experience. So naturally, when we reflect on these things, they may make us uncomfortable. And this is what can make boundless compassion practice a little more challenging. I'd just like to say that it's a challenge that can be very worthwhile to work with, as compassion is really at the center of how we're able to hold ourselves in the world. So I view the aspect of encountering challenges in working with facing difficulties and uncomfort in the practice of compassion more as a boon. And so in this way, we need some courage when we're approaching the practice of boundless compassion. I also like to point out that the practice of compassion is a practice of breaking open, not breaking down. So if we notice we're breaking down in any kind of way with this practice, we need to take a step back and take a look at why that might be happening and how to augment the practice a bit to really focus on the essence of what this kind of teaching on boundless compassion is pointing us towards. And so, as I said, there's a kind of breaking open that needs to happen, because in the world around us, and then of course in our own lives, we can't avoid suffering. It's a natural part of the world. As far back as we go in history, it's something that's been a part of history. And you could also see that many of us have an incredible resistance to suffering, to pain, to dissatisfaction, and all kinds of stress that happens to ourselves and others in the world. It's also totally heartbreaking to witness the kinds of sufferings that can arise in the world around us, as well as our own lives. So boundless compassion is the practice of allowing ourselves to break open with a broken heart, not to break down. And what this provides is so much wisdom and depth in our life, and so much interconnection that can happen. I see this happening to myself and others all the time, where we hear so much bad news going on around us, and we get caught up in that bad news, and we repeat it in our minds, and it creates a lot of stress and anxiety and overwhelm. Boundless compassion is a different way to work with those kinds of events we have to bear witness to, that are inevitable in our lives and the world around us. Again, compassion allows us to bear witness in a way that softens us, that opens us rather than breaks us down. And out of that softening and opening, we start to encounter more qualities of boundlessness, of being able to abide in a less limited way of being with ourselves and others. And then, of course, more compassionate action, more wise action can come out of that. So just some food for thought here on not only what compassion is, but what the deeper purpose is. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm just spinning my wheels, anxious about a certain kind of pain point that I'm having or someone else is having, and it's not allowing compassion to come forward. Where when I practice boundless compassion, there's an incredible shift. And that shift is opening us to genuine interconnection and relationship, where positive action can come out of that, not anxiety and more pain. So I would say compassion is an absolute requirement for being a human being these days. And then, of course, on our spiritual paths or on the Buddhist path, we can develop this more boundless quality that starts to break open into less fixation, less confusion, less misperception, and more insight and wisdom.